Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Carmen Shute, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this launch of Dig Deep and its author, David Bereson. Let's give him a cheer. So I feel very privileged to be hosting this event, and I'm a neighbour of David's. In fact, we're in the same corridor downstairs on the ground floor, and I've been told we're in luxury. And I'm in the process of becoming a friend, one of David's many friends. He is, as is today's testament, a man of many friends. So I'm going to be hosting this event, which has got a lot of things happening. We've got food, of course, being a sort of Jewish author. Lots of food. There's donuts, traditional Hanukkah food. There's the menorah. We'll be having singing, talking, and I hope lots of laughter. So as you may have noticed, the world has really gone to hell in a handbasket. So that's why this book is so important, because it's a testament to human resilience, the power of both love and humour, and also the necessity, as what David called, turning negatives into positives. Now, at this point, we respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the people of the Kulin nations. We pay our respect to the elders past, present and emerging. We acknowledge their continuing relationship to land and sea. Thank you. Now, as some of you may have noticed, we're in the midst of Hanukkah, the traditional Jewish festival of light. And one of the stories in this book is Songlines, which is where David describes how Judaism is built around its calendar. Each festival is a story. And he likens this to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander tradition and their cultural expression through story. Both cultures, he said, cherish and sprout from the land whose rhythms and the cycle of nature bind the people who live on it. Now, while David's sister Miriam lights the menorah, he invites you to grab a donut. I don't know if they're being passed around, but you might want to pass them around, and join him in eating his favourite food. But before that, let's hear from David's niece, Sidra Nissen, singing May Oslu, I hope that's right, a traditional Hanukkah song. Today.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, thank you for coming.
We're just going to hear from Sidra.
No, David's going to have a word.
You're going to have a word?
Today's the 5th day of Hanukkah, Hanukkah's Festival of Lights, and it's also about party time. That's what we're going to do today, is party. And Hanukkah, everything is baked in oil because of they're all lasting for 8 days instead of one. But it's about the light within ourselves that we make last. It's an eternal flame that each of us have, and we must exude to make sure we share with others. And on Hanukkah, one of the simple foods you eat is donuts, so we have plenty of donuts for everybody to enjoy, of which I shall indulge one. I will let Sidra sing my whole soul.
Do you want to light the candles first?
And I'm very privileged to have Sidra to celebrate and light the candles.
Yeah.
So this is the like a flamethrower.
Shall we do this side? Yeah.
I'd like to say to everybody, Hag Sameach. Enjoy.
I think it would all be nice if we all sang together. So this is the Maatsu song for Hanukkah. So if you know the words, I think it would be nice if we all sing together, including you. Okay? All right. Maatsu Yeshuati Lechanaye Leshabeya Tikon Tefilati Vesham Toda Nezabeya Leit Tachilot Beya Mitzah Beya Azegmo Beshir Mizmo Hanukkah Hamizbeya Azegmo Beshir Mizmo Hanukkah Hamizbeya. Woo.
So that was beautiful, Sidra. Thank you so much.
Something I forgot on the colours. We do acknowledge of the people in the same before us, and we learn from them. Learn from their song lines, that they pass their history from generation to generation, and that's how their culture transmitted. We are, as a Jewish people, are supplanted on their culture. And we also pass our song lines by transmitting stories from generation to generation. I hope to have contributed to this in my book by creating, in a way, new sorts of song lines.
Very lovely.
Thanks, David. That's a much better explanation than we gave before. Josh Burns, the MP for Macnamara, which is where we are, was to be hosting today's event, but he's on a parliamentary delegation. So we're very lucky to have Professor Kim Rubenstein from the University of Canberra School of Business, Government and Law to launch this book. So Kim probably doesn't need much of an introduction for a lot of you. She's a very public intellectual, and she's often in the media talking about human rights, the rights of non-citizens and citizens, inviting us all to do politics, government and life better. And certainly David's book points the way there with his many life lessons that we could all learn about. So with that, no further ado, let's invite Kim.
Well, thank you, Carmel. Thank you, David. And thank you, everyone, for coming to this very joyous event. As Carmel said, I'm Kim Rubenstein, and I feel very honoured to be standing here today. And I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting. And in fact, just look around us, the land on which we're so blessed here in Australia to reside on. I think the custom of acknowledgement is an affirmation of our humanity, of recognising how connected we are to country, every single human being, and the responsibilities that we all hold to cherishing it. I think timing is everything. And in fact, the timing was not so great for Josh Burns in the sense of him not having the honour that I have now been given the privilege to be responsible for. And Carmel didn't mention that in fact, when Josh was unable to do it, he suggested the Honourable Mark Dreyfus, Attorney General. But alas, Mark was out of town today, but he would have also been delighted to be involved. So the adage,
And Kate Gould.
and Kate Gould, who has just arrived. So Kate, I got in just before you. The adage, I was going to say, of third time lucky, I hope is affirmed for you, David, today. In addition to acknowledging those two things, I just want to acknowledge the love and connection in this room. Everybody is here because of their love and affection for you, David. Their gratitude to you for providing us this book, and I'll come back to the richness of what you have given us. But I think there's also something more about the timing in relation to there could not be a better time for us to be inspired by the message of the book, the need for each and every one of us to dig deep. And I thought in the spirit of what you're doing with your book to also draw upon Kohelet, the book of Ecclesiastes, in affirming this notion of timing being everything. Words that no doubt will reverberate with you now. A season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for being born and a time for dying, a time for planting and a time for uprooting the planted, a time for slaying and a time for healing, a time for tearing down and a time for building up, a time for weeping and a time for laughing, a time for wailing and a time for dancing, a time for throwing stones and a time for gathering stones, a time for embracing and a time for shunning embraces, a time for seeking and a time for losing, a time for keeping and a time for discarding, a time for ripping and a time for sowing, a time for silence and a time for speaking, a time for loving and a time for hating, a time for war and a time for peace. This book speaks to all of those aspects of our lives. I'm just going to put this down for a second. And what a year, as Carmel said, 2023 has been. This book, Dig Deep, as I said, speaks to all of our needs. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't any one of us here in this room who over the course of this year here in Australia, working like David did, and I've seen some badges in the room, seeking to try and reconcile Australia's constitution with the result, has had to dig deep. In addition, for all Jewish people, the personal trauma that individuals carry, or generational trauma, or those of us who are connected to those who hold those aspects of their lives on a daily basis, had to follow the horror of October the 7th, what occurred in Israel. And for those, the continuing horror who are still in captivity. And now for the war that continues with the horrifying loss of civilian life. We see so many people whose time is for dying. They're sobering lessons that require us all to dig deep. And David, through you, through your book, you have given us so much guidance, inspiration, and nourishment to work out how each of us individually can dig deep. There are 13 chapters in this wonderful collection. Stories in each of the chapters, reflections, vignettes, and it begins with family. The first chapter is called Family. We all begin with our families. And in David's family, those who are near today and those who are afar, we get to learn of them. The absolutely precious mother Maureen, who we find as the angel of Odessa. The irrepressible father Itiel, irrepressible. There is no doubt he is in this room getting so much nachas that we're all feeling from you, David, who we find as David's Peter Pan. He never grew up. To his wonderful sisters, who I'll come back to his niece and nephew here in the room, and to the children of friends, one of whom refers to him and we learn as Uncle Croissant. That's no surprise with all these donuts here. But it is through his sister Miriam, the wonderful Miriam, who is responsible for this beautiful painting and this beautiful cover. It's just fantastic, of David, that we get to learn a little bit about David as he was growing up. And Miriam, I have to share this with everybody before they get to it. The vignette called The Piano Stall. I have a sister, 4 years younger than me. Perhaps foolishly, she was often put in my care. I was very tough on her. This is the tale of just one of the many ordeals I have inflicted on the poor child. She's not so much of a child anymore, but perhaps. Actually, the result has not been too bad. I feel I contributed significantly to shaping the tenacious and capable businesswoman and clothes designer she has become. Since her life has turned out well, I cannot really feel any guilt. One Saturday night, my sister was left in my care as my parents went out. Not something I desired, but something I must deal with. To help me cope, I had a friend over to keep me company. Well, a couple of hours passed and we got hungry. Being grown up, teenage boys, we decided we'd walk down the lane to the pizza shop, which wasn't so far away. We didn't think it would take long, and I told my little sister what we were going to do. Suddenly, she got very upset and began crying. She didn't want to be left alone in the house. Something might happen to her. We pleaded and tried to pacify her, but with no success. This tried our patience sorely. We weren't pleased. We really wanted that pizza. So we came up with a solution that has become legendary in the family. We found some string and tied her up to the piano stool so that she couldn't escape. This, we figured, would occupy her so that she would have no thoughts of anything bad happening to her whilst we were out. It was a caring act as we saw it, all for her own good. Well, our visit to the pizza shop took longer than we expected, and during our absence, my parents returned to find my sister looking like a hostage. You can imagine the hell that there was to pay when we walked back in the door with our pizza. So this gives you a sense of the spirit of David and in his growing up period. But, relive some of the trauma, sorry Miriam. But it is in section 4, or chapter 4 rather, that we find, bang, the accident, 11th of June 1984. And I just want to read a little bit from that. At various points in our lives, we all have dreams and fantasies that we hope one day will turn into realities. Well, in my earliest years, I consider I was blessed. All that I did turned out much as I desired. Not only did many of my dreams come true, or show the promise of doing so, but I enjoyed myself hugely in the act of growing to adulthood within a loving family who saw to it that I had an enviable education. Then came the 11th of June 1984. Bang, the accident that occurred that turned everything upside down in an instant. The dreams that I had entertained and nurtured suddenly became unattainable realities. Well, sooner or later you have to adjust to this. There is no choice in the matter but to redesign your dreams and accept your brand new lived reality. I'll let you continue because he said it doesn't stop there, and I want to encourage you to keep reading beyond there, because it is from here that we get the insights and the tastes of life of David's new reality, living with a number of ongoing health conditions. In chapter 6, with the small letters DIS and capitals ability, we hear how all is not lost. But it's in chapter 7, Being Me, that we find the discussion chatterbox. My mouth is constantly in motion. Not because I'm eating, although you'd be surprised, probably not. But because I am talking, always with something to say. I barely take a breath. This impedes the quality of my speech, something that I have had to relearn to master. For someone like me not to be understood, or for people to have difficulty understanding me, is a cruel turn of events. But that cruel turn of events, in many ways, has enabled us to have access to all of those aspects of communication through this wonderful book. We are able to understand you, David, not only in speech, but through this wonderful prose, this writing, which gives us his voice loud and clear. And as Philip Adams has written, and some of you may have seen his feature in The Australian 2 Saturdays ago, this book reminds us that David is special. And when he writes from the depths, when he digs deep, it's not from despair. It is from the depths of his experience. The depths of his experience reflecting on chapters like friendship, a whole chapter on food, on guiding lights. David, we thank you, all of us here, for providing us this opportunity to dig deep through your depths. And of course, it's not only you, there are many in the room who have assisted you to assist us in understanding your world. And of course, the family and friends who have all been involved, and of course, the publisher, Franklin Street Press, and the wonderful Gary Sturgis. But I want to conclude with something that Victor Pereson has on the back of the cover. Victor is from the Centre for Optimism. In it, he says, or on it, if those of you who have bought your copy already, in his remarkable collection of stories, David Bereson illuminates the power of relentless optimism in the face of life-altering health challenges. Every tale nudges you towards a life imbued with honour, integrity, and ceaseless optimism. Thank you, David, and thanks for this wonderful opportunity.
That was such a wonderful speech. Thank you so much, Kim Rubenstein. And David, you want to say a few words now, don't you? Do you want to come up, or I just pass the mic?
Just careful if you want.
So many people have to shoot.
Just lift your left foot.
So many people haven't should thank me. Those I neglect and forget to, please accept my apologies. I have to thank my wonderful family, my darling parents, my ever-loving and helpful sisters. And I also want to thank the NDIS. With the NDIS that enabled me to write this book. And we can see now through this book what the NDIS can deliver us, to deliver our country. A level of being up just above surviving. What I've written is an ethos, a way of thinking, a point of view, a way of life. I hope it makes you laugh, I hope it makes you cry, I hope it makes you giggle, all the emotions that come through. This is essentially it. I also would like to thank the very many characters that are in my book, many of the people who are here today. This eclectic group has helped me navigate and survive 40 years that have been less than terrific, let me say, but I've still managed to get by. I will continue to. Thank you everybody for coming today, and I'll still be there. Au revoir. So that's time.
So, it is almost donut time. In fact, don't start on the donuts now. Anyway, I can't recommend this book too highly. It made me laugh out loud in bed last night. And that doesn't happen very often, though, of course. It does depend on who you're with. So this book really brims with wise words, particularly about the power of love. And at one point, David says, unconditional love is a two-way street. When received, it must be returned, or else its value is diminished. And he also writes movingly about the angel of Odessa, not Odessa in the Crimea, but Odessa Street just down here, a really, really generous woman who made everyone's life so much better. And this book is about that generosity of spirit and that, I don't know, sheer love of humanity. So, you now have an opportunity to buy David's book. He would love to sign it. And while this is all happening, David's niece Sidra is going to sing us some more songs. Hey,
Am I?
are you? Oh,
Oh. Yeah,
I've
right.
been told.
Okay.
Oh well, this is a day of many surprises.
You are very lucky.
Anyway, so that ends really the formal bit of the occasion. Just buy lots of books. Sidra will sing.
Did I sing?
And we can eat, drink, and be merry while she does it. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
I didn't know I was doing this. Okay. Well. Right. Well, do you mind if I choose something on the spot to sing, David? Yeah? Is that okay? Okay. Well, David has always been a very generous uncle to me. And in the book, one of the bits where I actually feature is about how David, every school holiday that I would have, would buy me a Chubba Chup lollipop. And that was sort of a tradition, and he's given me one today. So thank you for that. I'll sing a song. This is completely off the top of my head. I'll sing a song that actually was my subba, David's father's, one of his favourite songs, which is Feed the Birds from the musical Mary Poppins, because it's a song about generosity, which obviously David has in bucket loads, and not just with Chuppa Chups, but with unconditional love, which he also talks about in the book. I don't have any music with me, so it will be just my voice, but if you want to sing, you're more than welcome to sing. Lots of people do know this song, so yeah. Okay. Early each day to the steps of St. Paul's, the little Lord Bird woman comes. In her own special way, to the people she calls, come buy my bags full of crumbs. Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad if you do. Their young ones are hungry, their nests are so bare, all it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries, while overhead her birds fill the skies. All around the cathedral
The saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can see it, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that he cares. Though her words are simple and few, listen, listen, she's calling to you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bird, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bird.
That's not bad for an impromptu song. Wow.